In my experience, most students are familiar with the word revision, but they don't really know what it means to revise. They've been told to do it by former writing teachers, but they haven't always received explanation on how to do it. In the article, Revision Strategies of Student Writers and Experienced Adult Writers, Nancy Summers describes the differences she observed between novice writers and experienced writers. She found that these differences profoundly impacted the quality of the writer's final drafts. Let's explore some of her findings and how you can apply them to your own writing process to improve your writing skills. Revision. It means to see again, to reconsider our ideas and see them in a new light, from a different perspective. We then use that new perspective to make changes. If we really gain new sight, if we have truly found a new vision for our text, making a few editorial corrections is not going to bring the new vision to fruition. We must rewrite our text with our new vision in mind. Writers tend to revise frequently, writing and rewriting again until their ideas come into focus with more and more clarity and precision with each new draft. A novice writer is a writer with limited writing experiences, who has not engaged in writing activities often, or who has little experience writing for and receiving feedback from specific audiences. An experienced writer, on the other hand, has had many writing experiences, specifically experiences writing for and receiving feedback from audiences. As we look at some specific differences in the ways each of these types of writers approaches the writing process, think about which group of writers you identify with more. Both of these groups of writers approach revision in different ways, and we'll explore some of those. These ways profoundly impact the final drafts of their writing, with experienced writers producing higher quality drafts as a result of the way they approach revision. Novice writers tend to understand revision as an editorial act, fixing grammar, spelling, and punctuation, perhaps making changes in diction, syntax, or sentence structure, or otherwise adding or deleting small parts of the text. They revise on a word by word or sentence by sentence level. Experienced writers view drafting and revising the text as a whole many times as a crucial part of the invention process. That means they are constantly discovering new ideas through the process of writing and revising, finding new ideas, finding new ways of organizing those ideas, and new ways to present them to their audiences. Ultimately, this helps them create more effective final products. One of the toughest challenges novice writers face is imagining a reader who thinks differently from them and anticipating how such a reader might respond to their ideas and the words that they have chosen to express them. But experienced writers can vividly imagine readers with a wide range of experiences and beliefs. They can see these people and their ideas, the ways that they might respond to them as they're writing, and they adjust their writing accordingly to meet the needs of the people to whom they write. Novice writers also have a tendency to write their thesis first, then attempt to force the rest of their writing to fit that predetermined thesis. Experienced writers, though, use the writing process as a way to discover their thesis statement. They are not likely to have a thesis when they start writing. Instead, they wait to see how their thoughts emerge on the page. Then they review what they have written, searching for a central focus. Then they will craft a thesis statement, making that clear in later drafts, and allowing it even to evolve into something new and different if that becomes necessary as they continue to write and revise and new ideas evolve. Novice writers often believe that writing takes place in isolation, but experienced writers know that writing is collaborative. They depend on a writing community to provide them with constant and prolific feedback. Your writing community is a group of people you can rely on as a sounding board for ideas and as a source of constructive criticism on the drafts that you produce. If you are taking a writing class, your classmates, your instructor, and any writing tutors at your disposal would be part of your writing community. You might also want to include other people in your community of writers, people in your life that you trust to give you honest feedback. Novice writers often attempt to write their entire text from start to finish in a single setting and then call it done. Experienced writers take a different approach. They know they cannot produce anything worthwhile in one sitting. Instead, they plan times to write, sometimes days apart. This allows space and time for their ideas to gestate or grow. Ideas are like seeds we plant in our minds, and the more we think about them and discuss them with others, the bigger those ideas become. They also become clearer, and we can express them in more precise ways. Novice writers also tend to view writing as a linear process with very distinct stages that are completely isolated from one another, primarily because this is the model they're most likely taught in school. Experienced writers view writing as recursive or circular, what Nancy Summers calls the seed model. It is a messy process, it's not neat or orderly. Our thoughts and ideas don't evolve in a straight line, but in several directions at once. Experienced writers know this, and they allow space for their ideas to wander and travel in any direction before narrowing down to one specific line of thought to stick to. They are comfortable going back and deleting even large portions of the text that they had drafted if those portions of their writing prove irrelevant to what evolves as their central point. Let's look more closely at these two models, the linear model and the seed model, and how they differ. The linear model begins with the invention stage, what some people refer to as brainstorming or pre-writing. The name pre-writing emphasizes a stage that can only occur before one writes. Once the writer has selected an idea from their pre-writing, drafting can take place. A novice writer will typically sit down with pen and paper or a computer and write their draft from start to finish. If the writer understands the importance of reading what they've written and revising, they would do that next. Many writers who follow the linear model, however, often just edit at this point, eliminating perceived errors and then submitting their writing to the instructor or other intended audience. The seed model that experienced writers follow is not so tidy. The stages are similar, though. In the brainstorming stage, you plant a seed, or maybe several different seeds, to see where those ideas go. In the drafting stage, you begin to articulate those ideas. But your draft is like the sapling, it is underdeveloped. It still needs to do a lot of growing to reach its full potential. When you let your ideas evolve and grow, you don't have a lot of control over that. You might have random branches sticking out all over the place. The leaves, or the details in your writing, might be overly dense in some areas and too sparse in others. This is where you need to revise or rewrite, cutting out the unnecessary branches or topics, fleshing out the details where they were too sparse, and thinning them out where they were too dense. Then, you also need to prune. Read through your text carefully and edit. Fix those grammatical errors. Replace a word with a more appropriate synonym. Improve your sentence structure, etc. These are the small changes, fine-tuning the details of your draft. And of course, you need to remember that at any time during this process, your idea might die. It refuses to grow in the direction you had hoped, or maybe it simply isn't capable of growing into what you thought it could be. That's okay. Writers let bad ideas die and they start over with new ones. The difference between the seed model and the linear model is that the stages, though similar, are more likely to occur out of order. Writers are more likely to move back and forth between these stages, repeating previous stages later in their process, or even letting their ideas die and starting over with a completely new idea.